Alright, let's talk about everybody's favorite topic, thrusting. If you look at sword designs throughout history, obviously some are stabbier than others, technical term, and some sword blades are not designed for thrusting at all, pure cutting blades. And people sometimes get the idea that curved blades are no good for thrusting overall. So let's talk about why that's inaccurate. First off, why would you think that in the first place? Well, because the most direct and efficient way to deliver a thrust is with a straight blade in a straight line from A to B. Particularly with this kind of grip with one finger over the guard that tilts it forward more and aligns it better with your forearm. Everything is well aligned behind the point of the blade, and you can really spring forward and put your body weight into it, and it's all going to be transferred very directly and efficiently into the point. Some sword hilts are not suitable for this sort of direct forward thrust, like on a Roman gladius. You have a pretty short handle, and the hand is kind of locked into a hammer grip. So the only way you could do that if you wanted to thrust directly forward would be by flexing your wrist forward. I don't know if you even heard that. My wrist made a bit of a sound there. So that's not really good for your tendons. I made a video about that. If you thrust like this with the wrist hyperextended, that can lead to injury. And you cannot use this kind of rapier grip. Like, you can't really put the finger on top here and just use a handshake grip. It just doesn't work with this kind of hilt. So what would you do? A lot of people think that because of the way the gladius is designed, it's only for upward thrusts like this, because you can do this just fine, of course. But that's not the only way you can do this. Another way you can do this is by angling the flat of the blade down. So now you can actually rotate your body into it. So this is a lot like a hook in boxing or MMA. So if you thrust this way, you can rotate your body into it, and this is a lot more powerful. And now the shape of the grip doesn't really bother you. Now, it's not as direct as the straightforward where you can lunge into the thrust, but it's the next best thing, I would say. It's still very powerful. And this is exactly what you can do with a curved blade as well. So again, with this, even though I can do a handshake grip, this would not be very useful because it would basically impact with the curvature of the blade rather than the point, so it's not aligned. However, if I turn it, now I may have an effective thrust. So same as with the gladius, I could thrust like this just fine. And of course the upward thrust as well. Now you can also engage the core here and rotate into it, but it's not quite as powerful as at this angle. Your body isn't moving upward, and jumping in sword fighting is a terrible idea, by the way. I should probably make a separate video about that. Anyway, there are even some shenanigans that you can do, particularly with a curved sword. So if this is your blade and you're trying to defend against a downward cut, I can start the downward cut. As soon as I see you do this, I turn it around and my point comes over top of your blade. Even if you're taller or guard very high, I can still do this. So I can still reach right over top of your blade and stab. Can I do this with a curved blade only? No, it is possible with a straight blade as well, but the curvature definitely helps. I can pretty easily come right over top. I can do that from the other side as well. And here's what happens when the blade is strongly curved forward. So this is not a thrust, and in fact performing an effective thrust with this here just wouldn't be a good option. However, if I strike very high, I may be able to curve over and strike with a tip. So this is still a piercing attack, it's just not a thrust. and again, works pretty well. This can also be done in other situations, like if I throw an undercut and you block it, again, this can come around. You can imagine the same thing applies with a shield. So I can here as well thrust kind of around the shield, try to get it that way, definitely from unexpected angles. Now, the maximum depth that a curved blade can penetrate in a thrust is limited compared to a straight sword because it's not aligned in a straight line the same way, and going around a curve doesn't apply the force as directly, but it can still be more than adequate. And of course it also depends on how the blade is curved. So when I designed this blade here, I actually shaped it in such a way that the point is in a straight line with the hilt. So with this kind of design, you can thrust straight forward, as you can hopefully see on camera. So this is quite well aligned, even though it is strongly curved. And when you have only a slight curvature, it doesn't make much of a difference. Like in this case, this blade is not very strongly curved, and this I can absolutely thrust straight forward and put my body weight behind it, and it's not really going to matter. I have to be a little bit aware of the angle of the point, but even if I thrust directly straight forward, it's still going to be reasonably effective. So in this case, it doesn't really matter a whole lot. Back in 2014, I think, I did some tests to see the difference between curved and straight blades. It wasn't a great test setup. It was not terribly accurate, but at least it could give you a bit of a rough idea. And there were differences, of course, between the blades, but it was not as dramatic as you might think. At some point, I should redo that test better. But either way, so I hope that helped clarify things a little bit. Hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching, and check out the links down below, like to Kult of Athena, where you can buy a variety of reproduction swords and all that good stuff. Have a good one, folks.